Hello everyone. I just had a couple of questions in the last couple of days about scale and what it means and how to report it on your drawings, on your manual drawings. Now the first thing is you're using the architectural scale. So everybody's using the architectural scale. There are different types of scales. There's the engineer's scale and so on. But you're using the architectural scale. So I'll explain it within that context. Okay, so everything on the architectural scale does in fact relate to 1 foot. So the question here was, does 3/8 scale have to mean that 1 foot equals 3/8 of an inch? Or could it be that 1 inch equals 3/8, or 1 inch equals 3/8 inches? And the answer to that is everything relates to a foot. So if you're using, let's say here, I have the 3/4 of a scale. So 3/4 of an inch actually equals 1 foot. So this marker here would actually be 3/4 of an inch, but that would represent 1 foot of measurement in real life. Okay, so scale always means or always refers to 1 foot. Okay, so how do I report that on my drawing? Somewhere on your drawing you're going to have a title block and you're going to report scale. And that's what you would put on your drawing. You would actually put the scale as it is on your architectural scale. And you could even write in that 3/8, in this case I'm using the 3/8 scale. You could even write in that 3/8 of an inch is signified by the quotation marks, equals 1 foot, and 1 foot is signified by the apostrophe. Okay? So that's how you would write that in. But sometimes you see some other information on a scale, like you might see something like, okay, and what does that mean? And you don't have to put that in, but what that is the scale factor. So what the scale factor is it actually, in your head, kind of gives you an idea of what the size of the drawing actually is. So for here, I have scale, and the scale is actually what you report on your drawings, and that's what you find on your architectural scale, right? And then I'll kind of explain what that actually means in terms of scale factor. So in scale, your 1 inch equals 1 foot. We know that. But how does that translate into what my actual, or what my drawing is relative to the size of my actual object? So there's something called the scale factor. And what we do with that is we take our scale fraction, and in this case it's 1. So 1 as a fraction is just simply 1 over 1. You invert it, and you multiply by 12 to get your scale factor. So 1 over 1 inverted is simply 1 over 1. Multiply that by 12, and you get a scale factor of 12. Okay, so what that means is that the actual object is 12 times larger than my drawing. Or the other way around, my drawing is actually 1/12 the size of my actual object. Okay? Now, we don't often use that scale. A typical scale would be like a 3/8 scale. And I'll try and find that here. So a 3/8 scale, if I'm drawing, 3/8 of course means that 3/8 of an inch equals 1 foot. Okay, I know, and that's what I would put into my title block. However, what does that tell me in my head about the size of my object? So again, I would use the scale factor. I would invert my scale fraction, so 3/8 becomes 8 over 3. I would multiply that by 12. Okay, and to simplify that, you simply just simplify your fractions. So 3 goes into itself once, goes into 12 4 times. If I multiply top times top, bottom times bottom, now I get 32. So my scale factor is actually 32. So if I'm drawing and using a 3/8 scale, what it actually means is that my drawing is 1/32 of my real object, or my real object is 32 times more. Okay? Now, you can see here, if I use a 3/32, now just in my head I should be thinking as my drawings get smaller, then my scale factor should actually go up because I'm either drawing really small or my object is really large and I need to draw it smaller. So if I'm using a 3/32 scale, if I do this scale factor conversion, okay, I would invert, so 3/32 becomes 32/3. Multiply that by 12, and again, you can just multiply and then divide later, but it's easier to simplify first. So if I do that, I get 128 as my scale factor. So my object is 128 times what my drawing is. Okay, so if I go back to my scale factor of 32, I might be drawing like a toy, or I might be drawing a drawing of a car. So or I'm doing a scale model of a car. 128, I might be doing a large building or something like that. And of course I wouldn't be able to get a huge building on a small sheet of paper unless I did a scale drawing. Okay, and remember I said that there was kind of an exception with the 16 scale, because in the 16 scale it's 1 inch is actually equal to 1 inch, not 1 foot, and actually 12 inches is equal to 12 inches is actually equal to 1 foot. And remember, that's just a ruler. That's what we call the true scale. Okay, so there's actually no, it's just a 1-to-1. So I'll show you mathematically how that's the case. If I take my scale, if I'm using that 16 scale, what it actually is 12 inches is equal to 1 foot. Okay, so pretty simple. If I invert 12, 1/12 times 12 is equal to 1. So that means my drawing and my real life object are the same. And that's what it should be if I'm using the 16 scale. Alright, so you'll see this reported as a ratio. Okay, so 12-to-1, that's the scale factor. That's not the scale that was used. And what this means, this would be the object and the drawing. So the object would be 12 times larger than my drawing. Okay, but when I'm reporting this, or when I'm putting this into my title block, when I'm doing my drawing, it would have to be the scale that you actually used. So 3/8 of an inch is equal to 1 if I'm using the 3/8 scale, and so on. So I hope that helps. It sounds kind of confusing, but it's probably not for you. And I hope I've explained it well. If I'm mistaken or anything of that nature, please let me know and I can correct it. But this is what you put in to your title block, your scale that you used, not the scale factor, which is this. All right, that should be it.